Good morning, students. After completing the lines and angle chapter, today we start a next chapter, which one is chapter number 8, quadrilaterals. So now already we know quadrilaterals means what? A quadrilateral has 4 sides, 4 angles and 4 vertices. So here you see the diagram given to you. A quadrilateral here has 4 sides, that means AD, BC, DC, AB, 4 sides, 4 vertices, these 4 are the vertices and 4 angles here. So if a figure have 4 sides, 4 angles and 4 vertices, then easily we can say it is a quadrilateral. Now the quadrilateral, so lots of diagrams are we get which are quadrilaterals. So one by one we have to discuss. Before this, now another one very important topic is there, and which one is the angle sum property of a quadrilateral. Now next we have to discuss this one. I think all of you understood what is quadrilateral. A figure which has 4 sides, 4 angles and 4 vertices is known as quadrilaterals. Is it clear? Okay. Now the next topic is angle sum property of a quadrilateral. So that means the sum of the 4 angles. Angle sum property means what? Here we mention some angle. You see here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That means ultimately here the sum of these 4 angles A, B, C, D. What is the sum of these 4 angles we have discussed here? So that's why here the topic is mentioned as a angle sum property of a quadrilateral. So now here in this quadrilateral, now let's see here, we can draw 2 diagonal. One diagonal is AC, another one is BD. We can join 2 diagonal. Here simply we draw one, which one is AC. Now if you separate these two into 2 parts, if you see here ADC, this one is one triangle. Similarly we can mention here ABC, another triangle here. So since we know in lines and angles already we discussed this one, the sum of 3 angles of a triangle is how much? 180 degree. For that reason here we write angle 1 plus angle 2 plus angle 3 equals to 180 degree. ASP, that means angle sum property. Is it clear? Similarly in this side, if you see, if you consider this triangle ABC, then angle 4, angle 5, angle 6, the sum of these 3 is how much? 180 degree. After getting these two 180 degree, now if you add these 2 angles, so here angle 1 is individual, here we keep this one, so we add 2 plus 5. So if you add 2 plus 5, then this whole angle C we get. Similarly if you add 3 plus 4, then we get this whole angle A, and 6 is here B, and D is what? 1. So that's why we write here 1, 2 plus 5, 3 plus 4 plus 6 equal to how much? The right hand side is 180 plus 180, 360. So ultimately in place of 1 we can write D, in place of 2 plus 5 we can write C. From the figure you see, in place of 3 plus 4 we can write A, and in place of 6 we can write B. So that means the sum of 4 angles of a quadrilateral is how much? 360 degree. So if anyone asks you what is the sum of 4 angles of a quadrilateral, any quadrilateral, then our answer is what? 360 degree. Is it clear? Okay. After angle sum property of a quadrilateral, next topic is types of quadrilaterals. So there are lots of quadrilateral we get. Among these, the first one is we have to discuss here trapezium. So now in this trapezium, if you see here, the main condition of the trapezium is what? Only one pair of opposite sides. Only one pair of opposite sides of a quadrilateral are if parallel. So that means it may be AD parallel to BC, but here in this case, in this diagram here mentioned AB is parallel to CD. If one pair of opposite sides of a quadrilateral are parallel, then this type of figure is known as trapezium. So that's why here we write AB and CD are parallel to each other. Is it clear? Okay, this one is trapezium. So in case of trapezium, the main condition is what? One pair of opposite sides of a quadrilateral are parallel. So after that, parallelogram. Now next one is, if you see the in case of parallelogram, so here opposite sides are parallel. Here not only one pair of opposite sides, here both pairs. So that means here if AD is parallel to BC as well as AB is parallel to CD, if both are parallel, then it is known as parallelogram. Is it clear? Okay. Next one is rhombus. The third one. In case of rhombus, the condition is what? Opposite sides are parallel required. So that means AD is parallel to BC as well as AB is parallel to CD. These two opposite sides are parallel must be required here. And with this, one more condition is there. Here all sides are equal. That means AB is equal to BC is equal to CD is equal to AD. So here if you see here this one we write here. AB parallel to CD as well as AD is parallel to BC. With this AB equal to BC equal to CD equal to AD. So that means here the first condition is opposite sides are parallel, and with this all sides are equal. But in case of parallelogram, what we get? Opposite sides are parallel but only the opposite sides are equal. Is it clear? And in case of trapezium, what we get? Only the opposite sides are parallel, the sides are not equal. Is it clear? So this here mainly we have to know in case of quadrilateral. Some more figures are there we have to discuss. Is it clear? Okay. Okay, next figure is rectangle. All of you are familiar with this figure. ABCD is a rectangle. In case of rectangle, what? Opposite sides are equal and each angle is here how much? 90 degrees. So that's why no need to discuss anything more here, because rectangle, all of you know what is rectangle. Similarly, the square. In case of square, what we get? Each angle is 90 degree and all sides are what? Equal. So that's why it is one written here. And after that, the next one is very important here, kite. In case of kite, what we get? The adjacent sides are equal. That means in this case you see AD is equal with CD. Is it clear? Similarly, AB is equal with BC. If the adjacent sides are equal, so that's why here written adjacent sides are equal. If adjacent sides are equal, AD equal to CD, that means we write here AD equal to CD. Similarly, AB equal to BC or CB, then this type of figure we say we call the kite. Is it clear? So in case of kite, what we have to say? If the adjacent sides are equal, then it is known as kite. Is it clear? Okay. Now after discussing the different types of quadrilaterals, so in this chapter, in this quadrilateral chapter, mainly we discuss the parallelogram part. Is it clear? Mainly we have to discuss here the parallelogram part. So in case of parallelogram, the main property is what? Opposite sides are equal and parallel. Is not it? So this one is the main property of parallelogram. With respect to this parallelogram, so now here the first theorem given to you, the theorem 8.1. So in this theorem, if the statement, if you see a diagonal of a parallelogram divides it into two congruent triangles. So that means first of all what we have to take, we need to draw a parallelogram. So in this parallelogram, maximum we can draw two diagonals. One diagonal is DB, another one is AC. So here we draw just AC, the diagonal. Is it clear? So now here the condition is given, or the theorem statement is given here. If we draw a parallelogram and if you divide this one by diagonal, so mainly here if you see two triangles we get. One triangle is ADC, another triangle is ABC. Now our task is what? We need to prove these two triangles are congruent. Congruent means what? Congruent means the shape and sizes are equal. Now let's see how can we prove these two results. So that means these two triangles we need to prove congruent. So for this, first of all, if you see, according to our parallelogram property, AB is parallel to CD. Is not it? So these two are parallel. If you see, these two red lines are parallel. So if these two are parallel, then easily we can say AC is what? Transversal. Is not it? So you just forgot these two line, green line. So just if you see these two red lines, AB is parallel to CD. So that's why easily we can say AC is what? Transversal. If AC is transversal, then this angle 1, which one we represent here as an angle 1. So this angle 1 is equal with angle 3. Reason behind alternate interangles. So that's why here first one we written here, you see AB is parallel to CD, AC is a transversal, so that's why angle 1 is equal to angle 3. Reason behind AIA, that means alternate interangles. Similarly, if you see AD is parallel to BC, if you see this part, the green line, if AD is parallel to BC, then again we can say AC is the transversal. If AC is the transversal, now in this case this angle 2 and angle 4 are what? Alternate interangles. So that's why this one we write here. Is it clear? After writing these two, now we just separate the triangle ADC, one triangle, another one we write A, we have taken here ABC. So separately here drawn these two triangles, you see ADC, another one is ABC. Already we proved angle 1 is equal to angle 3, we write here. Already we proved 2 is equal to 4, alternate interangles we write. So if you see here angle 1, that means this red, these two angles, red angles are 1 and 3, so that's why we write here this 1 equal to 3, 2 is equal to 4. Then in both the triangles, if you see AC is common for both. Here AC is here, here also AC is here. So AC equal to AC, we write common. So now here you see one angle, side, then another angle. So in between these two angles, the side is what? AC. Similarly, in between these two angles, the side is what? This one. So this side is what? Included side. So that's why easily we can apply here one congruent rule. Which one is? Angle side angle congruent rule. So from the angle side angle congruence rule, what we can say? These two triangles are congruent. So that's why we write here by angle side angle congruence rule, what we can write? Triangle ABC. This triangle is congruent to CDA, or you can write ADC also. Is it clear? I think all of you understood this one. So now your task is what? You have to copy this all points and mainly the definition of quadrilaterals, and then you have to write down the angle sum property of a quadrilateral, and then after that you have to write down the types of quadrilaterals, draw the figure and write down the properties properly. Here in very short the properties are mentioned, you have to write one by one line. So all the properties you have to write for each diagram, and after that you have to write down this theorem 8.1 also, and then you have to write this proof also. Is it clear? In our next class we continue from theorem 8.2. Is it clear? Okay, thank you.